Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Creating an Ethical Climate in Your School. My name is Karen Rizak, and I'm the director of the Ethics Institute at Kent Place School.
My name is Ariel Sykes, and I'm the assistant director of the Ethics Institute at Kent Place School.
So welcome. So today in our session together, we're going to discuss the foundations of what it actually means to create an ethical climate in your school. What exactly even is an ethical climate, how to implement such a plan, and then by the end, give you some concrete ideas of how to get started. The goal, of course, is the vision of the Ethics Institute, which is to empower schools to live ethically. And one of the things that we like to do at all of our workshops or presentations is to encourage participation, whether that's a comment or a question, which you're please free to, say out loud or put in the chat. And I think there are about 15 people who are with us today. So if you could just quickly go around and tell us your name and your school or anything else that you'd like to say, perhaps the division that you work in or your role at the school, that would be great. So we'll start with Caitlin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Chesky. I'm here in Toronto from Branksome Hall. I'm a grade 6 teacher, and we have our upcoming unit all surrounding ethics. So this is very topical for us at this point. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thanks, Caitlin. Diane?
I'm Diane Watson, Branksome Hall. I'm a senior school English teacher.
Great. Welcome. Thank you. Robin?
Hi, my name is Robin Fitzgerald, and I co-teach with Caitlin, who you just met, at Branksome Hall, grade 6. Very happy to be here. Nice to meet everyone.
Welcome. I apologize, Siamak, if I am pronouncing your name wrong.
It's Siamak, but not to worry. As soon as you said I apologize, I knew I was going to do that. My name is Siamak Bormand. I am the assistant head of grade 9 and 10 here at Branksome Hall. And I'm very excited to take part in this because I've just started a working group with some colleagues on integrity and trying to see what that looks like and have our students lead the way on that. So very excited to be here and looking forward to it.
Thank you. Nolan.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nolan. I'm from Miss Hall's school in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. I just joined here in August. I work in the admissions office. So thanks for doing this today. Great.
Welcome. Here's another, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. Faisa?
Hi, I'm Faiza. I'm a social worker at Branksome Hall in Toronto.
Great. Welcome. Heather?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Heather Gillingham-Rivas, and I serve as the head of the intermediate school here at Carrollton School of the Sacred Heart in Miami. So that means I work with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great, thank you. Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work at St. Mary's Academy. We're a Catholic 9 through 12 school in Portland, Oregon. I'm the director of marketing, communications, and external relations.
Great. My screen just jumped all over the place. So Hillary.
Hi, I'm Hillary Fury-Killenbrand. I'm with Heather here in Miami, Florida at Carrollton School of the Sacred Heart, all girls independent school. And I am head of 9 through 12th grade, the upper school. Nice to be here.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Kathleen.
Hi there, I'm Kathleen Duguay from Branksome Hall as well. I'm a 9 and 10 school counselor, and I work very closely with Siamak, who just introduced himself a few people ago. And I'm also a member of the Integrity Working Group that Siamak spoke of. So very excited to be here.
Great, welcome. Katerina.
Hi, I'm also from Branksome Hall. Really lucky and fortunate to be here. I teach grade 7 visual arts at the moment. And yeah, excited to learn and be a part of this workshop.
Thank you. Jillian.
Hi, I'm Jillian. I work at Branksome Hall as well in the communications department, and I do a lot of communications around DEI right now. So this will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia.
Good afternoon, my name is Sophia, and I'm also coming from Branksome Hall. I'm in the senior and the middle school as a math teacher.
Welcome. Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I'm also at Branksome Hall. I am the instructional leader of the arts, and I teach drama grades 7 and 8 this year.
Welcome. Jared. Jared.
Hi, I'm Jared. I teach economics, grade 11 and 12 at Branksome Hall. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. The other Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I'm from ECS Girls School in Montreal, and I'm a math and science teacher, but I'm also working on their entrepreneurial platform in the middle and senior school.
Great. What a great diverse group we have. Wonderful. Kristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm at Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles, and I am an assistant principal for curriculum and instruction.
Welcome. Leslie.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Leslie. I am also from Branksome Hall. I am the IB Diploma Coordinator, and I am a grade 12 math teacher this year.
Great. Welcome. Andrea. Andrea, you're muted.
Hi, I work with Jillian in advancement and communications at Branksome Hall, and looking forward to the session just for the writing that we do to help inform what I'm writing about.
Great. As I said, everyone's moving around constantly here. So I think Hillary, we still haven't heard from.
You did hear from Hillary, my colleague in Miami. She already introduced
Okay,
herself.
thank you. Robin. Okay, Nolan. April or Dana.
I'm Dana Clark, and I teach at Irma Rangel Young Women's Leadership School in Dallas, Texas. And we're the first public all-girls school in Texas, and I teach science.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm April Williams. I am at Young Women's College Preparatory Academy in Houston, Texas. I'm the principal, 6th through 12th grade.
Oh, hey, April.
Hi.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. And again, thank you for joining us today. So the mission of the Ethics Institute at Kent Place School is to promote a process and practice of ethical decision-making in primary and secondary school communities. And the reason that we start the presentation with this is because there are a few really key and essential parts. First, when we talk about creating an ethical climate and we talk about ethics, it's not just about teaching ethics or teaching philosophy, which of course is very important. And we do so throughout the whole K-12 experience. But what we're more interested in and what we're really focused on today is how do you promote a practice of ethical decision-making so that it's not just a subject taught, but it's a way to actually live. And in doing so, how do we involve everyone in our communities? So how do we involve the teachers, the parents, the administrators, the board of trustees, everyone involved in a same methodology, same language, and again, a practice of ethical decision-making. So it's something that we learn how to do and not just learn about. And that really is a key element of creating an ethical climate in your school.
So today's presentation is going to talk about the 3 core pillars of what we think creates an ethical foundation in any school climate. And we're very excited to see such a diversity of positions here, both in primary, middle school, upper school, and leadership team and staff members, because I think it takes a village, right, to raise our future ethical change makers. So today our presentation is going to talk about the ways in which you can create a culture where people feel able to speak authentically and bring their authentic selves to the community. Practices for engaging in listening, not just actively listening, but listening generously so that people are not defensive, but can navigate challenging and complex issues together in a space that feels safe in doing so. And how we can create a culture where people will respond respectfully to the ideas of their peers in their spaces. So one way of thinking about how these three foundations, speaking authentically, listening generously, and responding respectfully, can manifest in a school climate is something at Kent Place we call our conversation norms. So these are the norms that root all conversations we have with everyone in our school community, whether that's parents, faculty, staff, or students. So to give you a sense of some of these conversation norms, we have speak your truth and listen to understand. When you're talking, trying to understand both the intent of what you're saying, but also understanding that there's going to be an impact, whether it's intended or unintended, and that you need to own that. When possible, seek to call in instead of calling someone out so that they're not getting defensive, but that it can be a really big learning moment for the community and for that individual. When having a conversation, being aware of when to step forward to participate and when you need to step back, both in the amount in which, like the number of times in which you're speaking, but also how much you're offering at any one time in a conversation so that all perspectives and voices are heard. And then taking opportunities to show leadership in a space by taking positive risks. So knowing where your learning edges are and being willing to push yourself, and also practicing empathy when people do take those risks.
So if we take a look at the first kind of pillar, speak authentically. Authenticity is a really interesting concept today. Most importantly, of course, with our students, but I think all of us can relate to it. What does it mean to be an authentic person? Students frequently say that they can't be authentic on social media, that they have a few different personas that they actually live as and relate to. So when we have, a sign in the Ethics Institute that says, be fearlessly authentic, sometimes students don't even know what that means, or do they have the courage to be fearlessly authentic? So the first thing, and the thing that you really need to spend a lot of time with, and again, we're talking not only about with the students, but as a community, because you're trying to create an ethical climate, is you have to know yourself. And so we spend a lot of time whenever we do a workshop with all the constituents talking about who are you, what are the things that you value most, what are your biases, what are the experiences in life that evoke the strongest emotion in you, what are your implicit biases or your explicit bias. And sometimes it doesn't feel good to go there. But if you're going to engage in ethical conversations, and by the way, we define an ethical conversation as not necessarily a right versus wrong, but a right versus right. Today, we frequently hear the discussion around safety and freedom, and how in a world where we're all concerned about public safety, how are we able to exercise personal freedom in a world where there's a need for public safety? So when we talk about those right versus right, and we encourage people to speak, you need to know who you are before you even enter into that conversation. So again, what are the situations that evoke a very strong response in me, and why is that? What are the experiences that have led me to have those types of strong responses? And so before you can even enter into an ethical conversation or think about being a member of an ethical school, you have to know who you are. And we need to give people the time to get to know themselves before they can engage in ethical dialogue. The second thing that is so critical to allowing people to be authentic is, how is it that we create the space for vulnerability? How is it that we create those safe spaces? So the next time you're engaged in a conversation in your school, whether it be a conversation in the classroom or a conversation among colleagues, think about it. Am I free? Do you feel free to speak? Can you trust the people who are in your classroom or in your office or in your department or your division? Do you feel free from attack or judgment or fear of saying the wrong thing? And so when we talk about authenticity, we need to be very deliberate in creating a safe space so that people can speak openly, be vulnerable, and most importantly, to disagree. Today in one of my classes, it was a first class, and I said to the students, first of all, everyone here is valued for your unique perspective. And so I encourage you to speak, to give us your opinion, because in ethics, we want to have the ability to understand things broadly and deeply. And so the only way to create a safe space is to do it, quite frankly, and to allow people to speak and for them to see that there are no repercussions and that they can trust you who are facilitating this ethical conversation.
So the second pillar is the pillar of listening generously. So this is part of what's important for creating a safe space in a conversation or in a community. We want to, when listening to other people's generate ideas or offer their position on a particular argument or question, to assume that they have good intent when they're speaking, right? They're not out to harm anyone. They're there to speak their truth and perhaps generate ideas. Maybe it's a brainstorm, right? Let's not shut things down before we consider them fully. You want to gauge empathetically. So through both your words and your body language, think about how you can see the other person as another human being who has feelings, experiences, and values, and how can you engage with them that recognizes who they are as an individual. And when possible, try to withhold and defer judgment. So be mindful of that initial reaction that you have an idea that wants to shut a conversation down, and embrace what we sometimes call the yes and, which is yes, and tell me more, right? I want to hear more about your idea before I fully figure out where I stand on this issue. So to do this, it's often helpful to think about not only before you have a conversation, but after you have a conversation, or after you are in an experience where you felt the conversation went well or it didn't go well, to think about what might get in the way of me thinking, responding and listening generously. Is there something that's going to cause me to react strongly and just shut down from hearing what the other person is saying? And if so, then what experiences have cultivated this, and how might I be able to express those experiences in a way for the other people to understand where I'm coming from, but where I'm contributing to an ongoing conversation instead of stopping it? And then what can I do to be mindful in how I respond and how I listen in the moment, so that I can be open-minded and listen to others?
So finally, the third pillar is to respond respectfully. And, we do workshops all the time on civil discourse, because one of the things that people don't do usually today is respond in a respectful way, again, that not only values your own authentic self, your own unique experiences, but also respects the unique experiences of the other. And one of the things that we emphasize a lot when we say respond respectfully is that this is not a debate. Ethics is not a debate. Ethics is really about a dialogue. It's about collaboration. It's about enhancing understanding. It's about trying to understand why perhaps your opinion is right, not that your opinion is wrong and I'm trying to poke holes in it. Responding respectfully means also coming to the table with your whole self and being aware of your own impact. Lots of times, especially students, are not aware of the impact that they have. Never mind students, each of us, because today, people respond in such a knee-jerk way that they don't even think about perhaps, the trail that they're leaving behind of people who are upset, who have been negatively impacted. So, and you do that not only by what you say, but by your nonverbal cues. And nonverbal cues perhaps are more damaging than some of what you say. And so again, creating an ethical climate, we always have people sitting, looking at each other so that they can completely engage with each other, not sitting in little pods, not sitting, in rows, but sitting in a circle so that everyone is part of the circle. And so nonverbal cues become, can be extremely damaging in a situation like that. And again, aim to enhance understanding and move the dialogue ahead, not a debate, a dialogue. And how can I learn and how can I grow and how can we be mutual in an ethical conversation? And that really is what we mean by responding respectfully. So reflect on your own experiences also. So what does respectful listening look and feel like for you? After the students finish a conversation or about an ethical dilemma or a case study, or after we have conversations, on our leadership team, where we're talking about perhaps an issue in the school that is controversial. For example, right now, our school, we've just got through talking about the vaccine mandate that we have for all the personnel in the school. So after the conversation, let's reflect on our own experiences. Was I respectful? What did it look like and feel like? And what actually gets in the way of my being respectful of other people? So this reflection, this self-reflection is really, really important. And how do I uphold a culture of respect even when we're having difficult conversations? And we want to emphasize, this doesn't mean that everybody agrees with everybody. As a matter of fact, disagreement can really be what moves a group, a class, an organization forward. So we encourage, again, dialogue, disagreement, but not debate. And we always say, if everybody agrees, the whole ship could be sinking and nobody would even know what to say about the sinking ship. So the ethical climate at Kent Place School. So how did this even start? How do you even start? How would you create an ethical climate in your school? Well, I will tell you that it starts very slowly. And as I said at the very beginning with regard to the mission, ultimately, you need to involve all the constituents. We can't have an ethical climate unless everyone is on the same page and speaks the same language. And it's so important and so impactful. For example, last week, our upper school director had a very difficult decision to make. And she announced to the whole school what her decision was. And she framed it by saying that I'm using X values to make this decision. And it was a very difficult decision, but ultimately, these were the values that rose for me as to why I made the decision that I did. It's very, very important for the adults to model the ethical decision-making. Again, it's why it's called a dilemma. And so to say, I have to take some time to think about this is a real ethical dilemma for me. To say, I thought, what's the best situation for everyone? Or again, we use this values-based approach, which we'll give you in a few minutes. These are the values that really spoke to me when I had a tough decision to make. And just this past weekend, I was asked to lead an ethical conversation amongst our board of trustees. And one of the very tough issues we're talking about now is gender identity. And how do we support our students who perhaps don't identify as girls while still adhering to the mission of the school, which is to empower girls and change the world? So this was a very difficult conversation. But when you start it and when you utilize an ethical framework, it's a conversation that really promotes growth and understanding. And again, everyone felt comfortable and safe in bringing their viewpoints to the table because we were all engaged in an ethical dialogue as opposed to an ideological debate. So start slowly. I think the easiest constituency to pick to start with are the students because bringing ethics into the classroom, into the advisory group, into a club is probably the place to start. And you also, and I haven't really mentioned them, you also really need to involve the parents because what happens at home, if we can be collaborative and speak the same language at home and in school, it would be benefit the students in a way that nothing else can. So we have created a very ethical climate at Kent Place School with our programming.
So we're going to briefly give you an overview of what that looks like at Kent Place. So we have all of our stakeholders, students, current students and alumni, our families, our community, the community that our school is in, as well as our faculty and staff. And we offer programming, including events, one-time events, current chats. It's infused in our K through 12 and our curriculum, both in subjects, but also as electives and clubs, advisories, and in helping teachers develop their curriculum. We offer trainings, both for families and faculty and staff. And we have summer and extracurricular programs for our students. So what this looks like across divisions is in primary school, we are developing a K through 5 Be Ethical Everywhere program based on Beatrice the Ethical Bee that faces ethical dilemmas and models what ethical decision-making can look like at the youngest ages, as well as helping them learn about values. In middle school, we have required ethics seminars in grade 6 and advisory chats that are emerging this year in grade 7 and 8 that was actually spearheaded by a middle school student who's working with us as an intern this year and last year. And we have a series of electives for Ethics 1 and Ethics 2, Ethics in Action, as well as in grade 8, our history course is Civics and Ethical Leadership. And that transitions us up into the upper school where we have we're in our second year of a required 9th grade introduction to ethics class that lays the foundation for all of our 9th grade students so that they can take advantage of the other opportunities in the upper school, including a bioethics elective that's in partnership with Georgetown. Live, Learn, Lead is our well-being and DEI type seminar for all of our grades, and we infuse ethics into that through 9th through 11th grade. We have a emerging ethics and STEM curriculum, ethics and entertainment, ethics and design thinking, ethics and artificial intelligence, as well as a strong program in ethics and the arts, both in the regular school year as well as summer. And an ethics bowl team, both in the middle school and high school that have placed regionally and nationally, and an ethics bowl and philosophy club.
So I know we mentioned already that lots of times, most of the time, the process and the practice involves a values-based approach to making an ethical decision. So I mentioned, the vaccine mandate, for example. And so within the conversation about the vaccine mandate, where we talk about who the stakeholders are, what the impact of the stakeholders, we talk about we use the conversation, we have the conversation utilizing these different values. So of course, safety was one of the values that was discussed. Most of all, the safety of the individual, the safety of the school, but safety can also be looked at for the person who is not vaccinated and who risks not having the safety and security of a job. We look at, integrity, honesty, compassion. Compassion works for many stakeholders. Ultimately is our responsibility to the students, is the responsibility to ourselves. And so as we had this very difficult conversation, we talked, of course, about autonomy. Does a mandate infringe on the autonomy of individuals? So it was a very difficult conversation. It was a one, again, that involved lots of differing points of view, but ultimately the school made a decision that was based on the value of safety and responsibility to the students. And so when it's framed in that way, and again, when conversations are had, that shows that there are clashing values, there are clashing, there are clashing opinions. But when you can make a decision that's based on values after you've had a lengthy dialogue, then you can live with it. And so this is a core part of the practice of ethical decision-making that we use at the school. Of course, we also talk about ethical framework as well. And in the case of the vaccine mandate, it was what was the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So this is our method, our methodology that we use, where, again, study and understand the situation means don't make a knee-jerk reaction, don't make a knee-jerk decision. Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the stakeholders. Let's talk about the values that are involved and to whom do they apply. What's the right versus right? How can we look at this situation through an ethical lens? And then the hardest part is you have to make a decision. And so what's the decision that we can make and why do we make the decision that we do? So as we said, we think that the easiest place to start is with students. And Ariel has this great example. This was actually created by a student, Ariel.
Yeah, so I've been working with a wonderful student in our middle school who came to us and said, you know, we face ethical issues in the, in our daily lives. Can I create some conversation cards? And so we created a deck of cards. She came up with every scenario that was based on something she experienced last year in our school. And she came up with a very generic example that was supposed to initiate a conversation in their advisory classes. So it was a very quick way to get ethics going, and then it was going to be followed up by a club. So they would start it in advisory, and then students who wanted to could continue the conversation on their own during a club time. And she worked on developing both the values as well as the questions. And so there was a variety of questions. We were being very mindful that she was going to ask questions that were specific to the case, because we can ask questions about like, what should we do in this particular situation? And what does it mean to enact this value in this particular situation? But it's also important in ethics to think about what does that mean for future situations, and perhaps even ones that are not as similar. So when we talk about loyalty, what does that mean on each side of an argument in this case, but also more broadly? When you're talking about integrity, while we can talk about it in the case where your friends are fighting over a different issue and you don't know where to go and maybe you don't agree, what does it mean to balance their needs in that situation? But in general, what does integrity mean to you? And so the idea is that the ethical cards they're grounded in something concrete that everybody can have a shared experience with and talking about, but then you can relate it more broadly to like, what if this happens, or when this happens in the future, I might think about it in this way. So we want to give you a few minutes to ask us questions. And of course, you can always email us at ethics@kentplace.org with any other follow-up questions that you have, or if you would like to invite us into your school to focus on any particular area to help you develop an ethical climate. You can also find resources on our website as well as our blog, ethicsinschools.org. And we post what we're doing on a daily basis on our social media accounts. So feel free to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And thank you so much. Okay, we threw a lot at you. Does anyone have any questions or maybe ideas that are emerging as a result of what we've talked about? Hillary and Katerina.
I'm just wondering how long it took you to get to that structure that seems so organized in terms of how the school's curriculum almost really builds to what you need students to do to graduate, and how you did that, how you back planned. Where did you start? Did it start from the middle and then branch out, or did you start from the bottom and go up? I found those two slides that I took screenshots of really fascinating, beautifully thought out, very well articulated, even in the graph, and just wondering how you got to that point.
And I just put in the chat the slideshow for all of you so that you can have access to it.
The Ethics Institute is 15 years old, and it started in middle school. It started with an elective in middle school. And from the elective in middle school, it went to a workshop for parents and a training for teachers. And then, of course, the middle school fed into the high school. And so there was a lot of enthusiasm around ethics. There was 7th and 8th grade elective. There was an ethics club. And then when those students went into the high school, they continued with that interest. And actually that turned into an ethics bowl team for the high school. And then I think the bioethics project in the high school, which is the partnership with Georgetown, that really also helped to drive the interest. So it went middle school to high school, while at the same time, we were doing workshops like Ethics 101 with the admissions group, with the business office, with advancement, with the board, with the parents. The last group is the primary school group. And so it went middle, upper, primary, because we found, but we're there, we'll leave it there. Katerina.
Yeah, I had a similar question in terms of how things were started, and in terms of the arts, I noticed that there was an arts ethics elective as well, and if that's something that just kind of stayed located in the secondary school, or if that's something that was also brought into the middle school as well. And then my second question was also just to see if you could repost the slides, but you already took care of that, so.
Can I take this, Karen? Or would you like
Yes.
to? So when I joined the ethics team at Kent Place, I had already developed an art program. So I was really interested in art and philosophy. And so when I came to the school, I was like, this is what I'm passionate about. And Karen was gracious enough to allow me to start working with our art teachers. And so I developed, a lot of it is partnership development, right? Like you partner with a teacher and then they get excited about it and they start to infuse it. And then you realize that the students are really interested or the parents are really interested, and then you emerge into a program. And so it started off as a summer program, and then it worked really well. And we have the middle school art teacher in the summer program helping me do middle school and upper school ethics and arts. And then we were able to propose an elective that would be standing in the high school called Ethics in the Arts. And we were going to change the theme every year. So this year it's Ethics as Protest, how we can use art to change the world. But next year it might be something else so that a student can continuously engage if they want to, and so that it can be timely. And it's not yet in the primary school, but the Be Ethical curriculum engages a lot of art making as part of the ethical lessons that the students engage with. And so I would say that it started with the teachers, and then with our support, we were able to make it a more division-wide, department-wide program. Seema?
How did you know that it was working? I mean, I'm sure it did. I'm always wondering what the look-fors are. What were some of the things that started to happen when you realized that you were getting buy-in and that this was really going in the right direction?
The level of interest and the number of people who were participating, the number of students who were participating, the students who were asking for more, the number of parents who were coming to the workshops and the chats that we do with parents. And I have to say that it now has actually become a pillar of the Kent Place Schools, the new strategic plan. So that's how you knew, is there was just so much enthusiasm around it. And then the students would be talking about ethics outside of the classroom, which was a really good indicator. And then the parents said, they came home and talked to us about an ethical dilemma that you spoke about. So that's really the way to do it. Dana? Oh, go ahead, Ariel.
I also think that because ethics is always timely, and the pandemic has only highlighted how much of an ethical dilemma that we face, that like having a system in a school that allows you to talk about current issues in a way that seems meaningful and allowing them to like figure out how to live based on what they value around those current issues, that, a teacher is going to want to talk about what's going on in the news, and a parent's going to want to talk about how it's impacting their kids, and the kids want to talk about how it's impacting what they're learning in school. And ethics allows you to have all of those stakeholders have conversations that then they can have conversations with one another. So I think it's a great way to empower people to like make learning relevant in the moment that we're in.
And that again emphasizes this idea that it's a process and a practice, that it's real and it's relevant. It's not just teaching about ethics. It's how is ethics infused into all of life. I know we're getting cut off at in 40 seconds. Dana?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize if I missed this point that I'm asking about. Did you start this like in an advisory class or as an after-school club, or how did you begin the program with your students?
It started as a middle school elective, a trimester elective. And that's how it was a class. And then it became a 2-trimester class, and then it became a club. And so it really was grounded first in with the students.
Thank you.
Hillary?
I think her hand was still
Oh,
up.
okay. Oh, the hand is still
And I
up.
think we're out of time, but feel
Yes.
free to email us at ethics@Kent Place if you have any practical questions. And we're always willing to and excited to partner with other schools. So let us know if there's something that you're thinking this sounds like something your school could do, even in just a small part, and we can help craft a way to support you in that.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.